Let's talk about some wide receivers the 49ers could potentially get to trade if they trade Brandon Aiyuk, because it's a business, and trading Aiyuk to me is the right move if they can get a good wide receiver in the draft to replace him, because I don't like the idea of paying him $27 million on this team in this offense for a lot of reasons. But fortunately for the 49ers, it's a really good class for wide receivers. I'm looking right now, and it doesn't seem like they could get Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., or Rome Odunze. Those guys are going pretty high. But Brian Thomas Jr., Lad McConkey, Malachi Corley, Adonai Mitchell. I mean, there's a ton of guys the Niners could get who are graded similarly to where Aiyuk was graded coming out of college in 2020. Do you have any favorites of the wide receivers who are coming out?
I like Mitchell out of Texas just because he's kind of similar in style and Aiyuk. And I think if the 49ers were to pull a trigger on a Brandon Aiyuk trade and go with that, that send and replace, send him off and replace him with the rookie, they've kind of shown where they try to obviously will immediately replace that position and try to find some type of similar caliber player at that position specifically. And with him, I just like I think I like his little shiftiness in terms of how he can run routes, and I think he will work well in that sense with the 49ers and kind of replace what Aiyuk did. Not immediately replace what Aiyuk did. You're not going to expect any rookie to be like, all right, have fun replacing an all-pro. That's not going to happen. But I think with him, you can have some of those similarities where, okay, it's not too significant of a drop off. We can still have this, but we just have a cheaper version. And that's pretty much what you always weigh when you're trying to consider trading these guys. Is do we have a needs elsewhere where instead of paying this guy, let's turn him into some picks where we can plug and place elsewhere. Because look, there's some positions where you need where you can do that, pull the trigger at 31 on a receiver and bolster up your defensive line, bolster up your offensive line, do something like that. Turning Aiyuk into somewhere where you can not have a fat drop off in production or efficiency or an impact, and then still have other players everywhere. But I really like Adonai Mitchell out of Texas because I think he does have a little bit of similarity to Aiyuk style.
All right, let's look at it this way. The NFL.com grades these players. The NFL Network, and this is an organ of the league, and their scouts are respected. And when Brandon Aiyuk came out in 2020, they gave him a 6.38 grade. 6.38 will eventually be a plus starter. They got it right. Really good player. This year in the draft on NFL.com, they have the following players are graded above 6.38. Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, Brian Thomas Jr., Lad McConkey. Those five. Lad McConkey's a 6'4". Brian Thomas Jr. is a 6'4'7". They both ran in the 4.3s. I mean, they're both really good athletes. And then you have all these guys at 6'3", which is right where Aiyuk was. Malachi Corley, Troy Franklin, Adonai Mitchell, Roman Wilson. So that's four more. And it seems like that's what, 9 wide receivers who have similar talent to what Brandon Aiyuk had coming out. Take your pick. There's got to be one guy in there who fits the system that Kyle likes. I'm all for this Brandon Aiyuk trade. I feel like this is a good year to do it. You're never going to get more for Brandon Aiyuk than you're going to get right now, and it's a great draft to draft a wide receiver.
That's the exact same reason why a team wouldn't want to trade for him too. That's what sucks. It's like how do you find that team that's desperate? You have to find a team that's really look, we don't want to wait for one of these guys to develop instantly. He'll be good, but it's where you could just part ways with a good draft capital and be willing to take on that cap space. Because really, number one, it starts with who actually has a salary cap space to take on this guy. Number two, who's actually even a decent position. And then your 49ers, what do? A pick swap? I feel like that's something a team I'm just going to use the Jaguars as an example because they were the first ones, right? Jaguars, you think they're going to give up just their what are they, 18th or 20th, whatever? Just give that up.
Why wouldn't they just take a wide receiver? Okay, that's a good point. Let me give you a scenario. How about a team like New England? Okay, they're going to draft a quarterback in round 1. They have the 3rd pick. Then they have a high 2nd and a high 3rd. They could trade both of those together. That's the equivalent of a mid first or a 21st pick. And then they could say, whatever wide receiver we're going to get at the top of round 2 isn't as good as Brandon Aiyuk. So we'll trade these picks, get Brandon Aiyuk, and then he could pair him with this guy for his entire rookie contract. The Niners can take those picks and then trade up. See how far they can get because will have 31, 34, whatever. Take 31 and 34, put them together, see how far they can go. I mean, they could do something like that. That's how it could work.
Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, I like that idea. It's actually perfect.
We'll see if New England's into it.
I think that's kind of like what the mindset it's having. It's like, okay, if you're the 49ers, what would you do with them? Would you stay with those picks, that second and third, or would you, like you said, package it and try to see if you can find someone who's like, we'll trade down 10 spots or something like that? You know, there's always the Raiders out there who might want to trade down because they keep getting linked to Michael Penix. You know, they have a quarterback need or something like that.
Good point.
Who's obviously you're not going to take him top 15. But yeah, I think at that point, if you're the 49ers, then you'd have to like start weighing like who's there you can get an offensive line, defensive line.
Good point.
That's a hell of a scenario. I like that one.
Yeah,
New England are a team where it's like, you know, why would you not bring like someone who's just coming off an all-pro year? Yeah, we got Pam. Yeah, it's like some nice capital you're giving up. But like, hey, right now, immediately, this is going to expedite our quarterback's development. So rather than just we're having on rookie, it's like, okay, vet on like kind of a little bit what the Bills did with Josh Allen. I know Josh Allen was obviously further along, but he was still kind of like rookie-ish a little bit. Like this guy was raw, and you bring in these guys, professionals, to really set you ahead.
Yep. What the Niners also could do, let's say they get 34. Let's say they get the Patriots' second and third round pick for Aiyuk. They could take pick 31 and the third round pick. So a first and a third, trade it to the Raiders or something. Move up because that 31 pick would be a good spot to take a quarterback. And then they could take an offensive lineman there, and they could take a wide receiver with pick 34 that they get from the Patriots and say, he may not be as good as Brandon Aiyuk, but he'll be close, and he'll be a lot cheaper. Could be one of the guys from Texas. Do that too. It seems like you could find a way. Like Brandon Aiyuk could be the key to the 49ers getting the heir apparent to Trent Williams, and they could still have draft capital left over to replace him.
Yeah. I totally would be.
I'm getting excited about this.
I totally be on board if they were to send Aiyuk and the capital they got in any way, just find a replacement on somewhere on the right side. Like, again, like I'll forever say this, like the one thing the Super Bowl taught me is like, God, the 49ers would totally benefit from a stronger offensive line than a strong, if they were to have the reverse, a strong skill position player, an array of skill position players versus a strong offensive line, they would rather have the strong offensive line is way more effective for them. And then just go for like a third or fourth round receiver. You're Kyle Shanahan, go be smart, scheme this guy open. You have a good quarterback, figure it out. Like no one's going to cover this guy. He's going to be still your fourth option.
Right.
I feel like it makes so much more sense to do it that way.
Yeah. And what's crazy is like, okay, so he's not as good as Brandon Aiyuk, but he'll still be your fourth option. He'll be on a rookie deal. And some of these guys run 4.3s. Like, okay, you're not Brandon Aiyuk, but they're really, really talented. So, and you have Brock Purdy throwing you the ball. Like, who doesn't succeed with Brock Purdy throwing the ball? A lot of reasons. I mean, Brandon Aiyuk wasn't doing that great until Brock Purdy became the quarterback. Like, how was his career going with Jimmy? He went from catching like 60% of his targets to like 72. Like, yeah, that's the Brock Purdy effect.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. So, anyway, they're going to trade Brandon Aiyuk. I'm excited about it.